All right, hey everyone, this is DayTraderRockStar with a little S&P 500 update and a little review of last week's watch list. Looking at the S&P 500 here, you can see some important things here. Well, it looks like a nice wedge pattern, pull back to the trend line and breakout. Now, this is something I expected, and I'm kind of happy that everything came back and actually go, and I'm probably the worst person to gloat. I would never gloat or anything, but I'm very happy to recognize this pattern as it was happening, looking for this level to be held and a move back up. And we got that move, and I'm not saying that, this move, how far this move is going to continue. We're going to go into that a little bit further, but let's see how we got down there. I'm just actually going to go back to the last week's video and let's take a listen to this and see exactly what this sounds like. All right, or at least that part I was talking about. Comes up to it, and then this would definitely be an area. But even if you made it a channel trade at a lower level, that also plays right into that level. So this whole total level is very strong, and of course we pulled back into that. Everything textbook right now. This is a classic textbook downward sloping pattern. It could either be a channel or a wedge pattern. Normally they both break to the upside, but it takes timing. Now, this has only been tagged potentially once, twice, three times. The same thing on the bottom side, possibly four if we add in this area over here. So I'll be watching, I would definitely watch for a lower test of this trend line, but what's more that what I really like to pay attention to a little bit more is the potential of holding this 1050 area, building a right shoulder here, and then breaking out of this pattern to the upside. So right now, going into the beginning of the week, you got to be very cautious. You got to be pretty much on the sidelines. Let the market determine if we're heading back down, or because this is the first pullback we got on Friday, so we could get a reaction rally on Monday, push back into this pattern a little. So Stochastics are getting a crossover. I think we're definitely going to follow through down to that 1050 area. If we hold that 1050, great. We could actually put in that inverted head and shoulders, slanted inverted head and shoulders pattern here. But that needs to be seen. And once we start to establish that, for whatever reason, if we come down to this level, we have this head over here, and we can start to establish some strength, and we get a little divergence between the stochastics and the price level, then we can look for that break. Until then, you got to believe that the trend is down. And all right, so basically, there was two options here. And let's go back to the regular chart here. Two options. We break down to the lower trend line. Now, and the interesting thing about this pattern, this is reviewing it today, you could go to at two levels. I could see people going to the top of this candle here, driving this channel line here, and that would end up leaving this a perfectly formed channel. If you took the closing price, and you can see the closing price here comes down, you can actually see a nice wedge pattern. But in both of these cases, in this case, we're going to take one off here for a second, just to make this a perfectly traded channel. All right, say it's a nice little channel developed here. We came up here, pulled back, we held the 50, held that 1050 area, started putting in a right shoulder, and then got the momentum and a crossover and a breakout. So you can easily see the head and shoulders formation on that. Now, what was nice about that is we came back and we held that first retracement. We actually held it as a Fibonacci retracement, and you could just take it from the recent low right up to the highs, and we came right back down to that 50% move from that recent move. So if you want to look at Fibonacci's, it all played out according to Fibonacci's. Could have went down to the 1050, I would have been fine with it. But, if you would have read it, and I kind of read it more as taking my trend line to the closing prices of the dailies. And if I do that, you can see a perfect line up here. The closing prices of the daily, even squeezing a little tighter. But we get the idea. We want to look here. Let's just pull this back down just a little. The closing prices there. Closing prices, even that reversal bar that stayed under the trend line right there, hit it. Now we had the breakout, pushed up until we got overbought stochastics up here. Ran into the 200 period moving average. Everything told us that we're going to get a pullback here. And the market does pull back before it goes up. Nothing goes straight up. So this was a textbook area to go short here. And the pullback brought us right back to the lower trend line. And that lower trend line, downward lower trend line test was classic. We held it. We held the lows above that trend line, reversed, and now pushed up off of this. So in either case of the channel or the wedge pattern, it was a perfect setup. Now we just have to see if we get some follow through. Now, this market is highly fixed on economic, political, environmental news, but this pattern shows me more bullishness. We got a crossover. I'd like to see the market continue up tomorrow, and I do think we have more upside here. So right now, currently futures are at 1103.75 on S&P E-mini futures, which is up. And again, I'd love to see it. Here's one other thing. Let's take a look at what happens if this is that right shoulder. All right, this is the head. This is the left shoulder. I want to take this neckline and make it right down here. Now, there's a lot of levels here to be looking at. I want to get rid of this. And we're just going to take a for instance type of thing here. Say this is the slanted inverted head and shoulders pattern. You really got to use, I use the slanted trend line here. And I just want to show you, if you take that neckline down to the base of the head here, and then you take that and you extend that from the breakout, you see a move up to 1170. 1170 just happened to be the top of that channel. And that's also something to really pay attention to, because not many people will bring this to your attention. I love bringing that little formula into your attention, looking at that when how to measure a breakout of a channel. Is to go to the beginning of the channel, measure that horizontal line across, make the distance equal distance from that level and the size of the channel. And that area, when the distance gets to be equal, is where you're going to look for that breakout. And you hear me talk about it all the time. So we had it here. That's how you also time a breakout of the channel. Now I'll go over more on that. If you want to email me, I'll describe it. I know I just ran through that, and it's a whole other lesson. Other than that, looking for more upside. Some good last week's 10 for 1,000 watch list, a dynamite one. Just going to run through it real fast, real fast. A lot of them AMTD. We're going to go run through it. AMTD on this week's watch list did not trigger because $16 is the trigger on this one. It looks great. It's actually one of the best bets going into this week. I gotta have it on this week's watch list. AMTD. BWP. BWP on last week's watch list told you to enter 31. The buy trigger is 31.50. Target was 32.50. We went up there, tagged the target, perfect. BWP. And again, that was on last week's watch list. Still looks very strong. It should be on the watch for the pullback to the 20-period moving average for your entry there. CTSH. CTSH. Perfect setup. Should be. Let me actually double check something. The CTS. It continues to be on the watch list. It looks great. It looks like we're going to get a nice little follow through here. And stochastics are embedded. Very strong stock. We continue to focus on that. CVLT. CVLT on last week's watch list. And basically, it's the 5 to 7 day pullback. We have the 5 to 7 day pullback. And we're going to look, it's actually still on the watch list. It hasn't triggered. Actually, the best place to have triggered it is into that 7th day, which was right there, the lowest part of that pullback right here. And the last 2 days have been up. So we'll see if we get that crossover and move up. Still on the watch list. OVTI. OVTI, perfect. Buy trigger is 24.30. That gives me a 52-week breakout. We got the positive crossover. I'd actually watch it for an earlier entry on a break of Friday's highs. So just do that research, get Friday's highs out there, and rock on that. PAY on this week's watch list. And the reason is, very strong trending stock. Sideways trending right now, but strong. Never, it's holding higher lows, and we continue just to move up here. So let's again, that's on this week's watch list, so you can get that information on that page. PBR hit the watch list. It was it was a pullback entry, and it bounced up, pushed through 35.40, which was the buy trigger. Target was $1 away from that. 36.40. Tagged that, moved it, and continue on. I'm just going to run through these because there's so much more information out there and more research to be done. PSMT on last week's watch list triggered and hit the target. Very easy. Very strong stock. Still in this one. Looks great. Brought it to your attention last week. PSMT. That's one of the strong stocks that stays strong. Qualcomm. Last week's and the weeks before watch list because of the beautiful falling wedge pattern. And now let's take a look, revisit that wedge pattern. and why it was such a good setup. Good setup is always because you have multiple indicator setups. And let's see, I put this on the original watch list, I think 2 weeks ago. It would be 10 days ago. So it was about down here. And we just got that crossover on the stochastics. And I said, all right, this one's ready, good to go. We moved up to the trend line. It was great. And then we broke through it. This is a perfect wedge pattern. Really nice. Nice stochastic crossover here. Gave us that nice bounce. Multiple indicate. Everything about it was golden. And blew through that target. Target on that was $36. $36. Was the target on that? Wait a second. Qualcomm. Target was $36. That's right. So that was because that was originally here. And then from that 36 target, you can see the consolidation there. We got to that level, but then, again, continued to break out. Red Hat, RHT. RHT, not excellent watch list pick. Triggered is still in play, and still breaking out here. RHT, breaking out. We continue to watch it. It is still on the watch list as a target's coming up. Smucker's Jelly, watch list triggered wasn't hit, so it didn't get you in, but it's just about ready to be hit, and it's on this week's watch list. TSO, Tesoro, hit the trigger. Target still intact, and look for that target to be hit. TSO on last week's watch list. Very perfect entry down here 5 days ago. Entry was $12. $12. And we broke through that $12. And we're moving now up, and we should get up to that 200 period moving average on that. TSO VIP. Again, that was a good pullback. And the reason I got in on this one, and this is basically reviews of these, is the double bottom here in the stochastics. Something not many people look for. I look for it all the time. And the pullback, a slight little pullback. Once I saw a bullish confirmation here and a nice little crossover, jumped back on board, in the money on it. Took profits on it this week, but still the trigger is still ahead of us, 1725, which it almost got there, and it still looks great here, VIP. So expect this one to move further. VRX, again, this is a stock that does not look back. Again, that should be on the stock. That's a new feature on the site. Again, you probably watched that video, but great trending stocks in the market, bring to you each day or each week. VRX was also on last week's watch list and something I was holding, and continues to be strong and hit the trigger no problem. 54.20 was the buy trigger, 55.20 was the target, and we just passed 55.32. So, and WFT, again, another great entry down here. Had you entering WFT at 14.90. It pushed right up to 15.90, which was the target. And that's consolidating here. And I would still look at this one to break out of this larger, beautiful downward channel here. Watch for the stochastics to turn back up. I think we got a nice breakout here. There's so many good setups in this market. WPRT. And again, another one that triggered. WPRT in Cincinnati. That's how you can remember these stocks. Again, on the watch list as a buy trigger at 1950. It targeted 2015. It closed at 2025. It's going to get a follow through. It looks great. It's probably going to end up on another watch list. This is another stock you should put on your focus list. All right, so that's that. See what else I have here. And this is actually the picture of the 10 for 1,000 watch list for this past week. And you can see on the 10 for 1,000 watch list, what I do is I measure out the, everything gets triggered and sent to you as a buy trigger is green, target hit is yellow, and if it's in black, it hasn't been hit yet. If it was stopped out, the stop, and if I have stops on those stocks, it would turn red. So an unbelievable watch list last week. I was glad I was reviewing it with you. I'm under time restraints on these videos sometimes because I try to get them out early enough so you guys could go over them. But I hope you enjoyed that. Love to get some feedback. And don't forget, we go over these stocks and a very exclusive watch list that goes out to the members of all the great setups that are approaching on DayTradingRadio.com. So see you in the markets.